Hello, Hogzilla here again, and in today's video I'm going to give my tips and tricks for completing the Llama of Wall Street scenario. This scenario is not part of the base game, but instead a DLC add-on for purchase. Before we get started, if you like these kind of videos, press that like button. If you have a question or an alternative way of completing this mission, leave a comment below and please consider subscribing to my channel. I will put a link to the full video in the description below, as I will not cover every single thing I did in the full video. The key is to starting well in this scenario. It is to build up your infrastructure early, since you start with a large amount of money. Build your trade institute along with 6 libraries. I did not misspeak, I did say 6 libraries. Set your military to pacifists, as there will be no attacks today, hopefully. Start building your lumber camps, 6 to 8 should do. Get the required 3 toy factories built along with another construction place, fire station, lumber mill, fisherman's wharf, and shipyard. Get 2 cotton farms built, as you will need these in a bit, along with 6 coca farms. But depending on your difficulty level, you might want to pause these after they are built, as on harder levels, workers are at a premium and you do not want to be wasting workers at the coca farm, as you don't need this item right away. Now build 3 warehouses plus immigration and customs. I recommend building a couple bus garages to move people across long distances on the map. As for what to put in the warehouses, I recommend for warehouse 1, coal, iron, and gold. Warehouse 2, put steel, meat, and milk. And in the 3rd warehouse, put steel. And yes, I know I have said steel for 2 warehouses, but that will be important later. Now build 1 corn plantation, 2 pineapple, and 3 rubber, plus a coconut farm, followed by 2 pig and 3 goat ranches. Now it is time to build your power plant, plus 2 canneries, being sure to select the first upgrade, as that will allow you to add meat to the cannery, increasing production. Also build 1 creamery. Get your iron, coal, and gold mines built, along with the steel plant, but make sure you pause this after it is built until you get the 5 items in the warehouse with over 1,000 quantity each, which should then finally conclude the extensive pre-building for this scenario. Now just follow the required quests and add grocery buildings with the max budget, as this will be important later. Be sure to build police with the live and let live work mode to get Swiss money into your Swiss money bank account. Also be sure to build your prison with the convict labor work mode. Once the 5 items at 1,000 quantity each are in the warehouse, unpause your steel mill and start storing steel in the warehouse. Do not export it. Also release 5 items from the warehouse that you were storing, as you have now already reached the 1,000 quantity. Build your boats and your canned goods as the quest requests. Once you have the required canned goods, switch your work mode on the canneries to supply local market, as this will increase the food quality rating of the grocery, which will be very important later. Now that you're in the Cold War era, build the required chocolate factories. Here I might start importing plastic and storing it in the warehouse for future use in the next era, modern times, for the electronic plants you're going to be building. Build your research lab, vehicle factory, which you might have to pause until you get 15,000 stored in the warehouse in steel, and then also make sure that you're building a furniture factory. Then demolish your shipyard and start building 2 more coal power plants. Then build a spy academy, 2 banks with slush funds as the work mode. On the spy academy, select the Colosseum Great Wonder. This is key. Make sure you're selecting the Colosseum Great Wonder as the building to raid, as this means later when you actually build the Colosseum, the overall island happiness will only be dependent on food and fun raiding. You will now get a request to have 15,000 in steel in the warehouse, which hopefully if you've been storing up all the steel you've been producing, you should be over this mark. But you will also have a request to complete 3 import steel trade routes. Pick the 3 lowest values to import and just get it done, along with building the 2 additional docks and having 7 newspapers. Start building your movie theaters around the island with the maximum budget, and when you get to the modern era, build 1 stadium, and it really should be in the middle of the map with the maximum budget to get your fun rating up. Build your space program, and then at this point you should start watching your population number. You want to keep your population number to around 1,000. If it gets too high, if you're starting to get above 1,200, then you'll have not enough support services for all the people on your island, which will cause some people to not be able to use those support services, causing a drop in happiness, which will be important later at the end of the mission. So it's key to watch your population and keep it around 1,000. So if you need to deactivate the penal colony, do so. If your population is still rising, then change your immigration office work mode to Tropico first, which will lower the immigration rate. Then if your population gets below 900, you're going to want to switch your immigration office work mode back to the other option. And if it still isn't around that 1,000 population, you're going to want to turn penal colony back on. Once you get to the modern era, build the mall. And then make a trade route to import shellfish and juice so that you get to the 11 needed food groups. Then turn off the exporting of electronics, as you're going to want to store up this item for a later quest. Turn on the processing for the warehouse on plastic, then build 2 to 3 electronics along with 2 plastic plants with the biopolymer upgrade selected so that you can use corn to produce plastic instead of oil. Once you get the main quest for exporting electronics, turn back on the option to allow exporting of electronics. At this point, you should about be getting the completion of the Colosseum raid. Once you get that notification, build it. Once you get about halfway through the exporting of electronics quest, start considering warehousing cars and importing and then warehousing smart furniture. Once the electronics export is complete, you will need to export toys, smart furniture, and cars by selecting the trade routes provided. Once you get your final quest, have 20% of your population be filthy rich and the entire population have a rating of 80 on happiness. This is where you're going to need to build a bunch of offices. With each office you build, hire the workers, which should increase the filthy rich people that are present. I also recommend that you switch on the child allowance edict, as that'll give you about a 1% increase in your filthy rich percent. Once you have completed that, you should be already at about 80 happiness, as you are only accounting for fun and food because you built the Coliseum. At this point, you should win the game. That is all I can really say about the Llama of Wall Street mission. If you like these kind of videos, press that like button. If you have a question or thought, leave a comment below and please consider subscribing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.